All right. Thank you again for joining me this morning for this 1 hour for this webinar sponsored by Rommana Software and the International Institute for Software Testing. My name is Magdi Hanna. I am the I'm the CEO and Chief Architect of Rommana Software. I am the man behind all the features, all the high-level design of the Rommana ALM tool and methodologies. In fact, I am much heavier in the methodology side rather than the tool side. But you can blame it all on me if you have any problem with the tool or methodologies. So I manage all the features in the agile language. Sorry, my sincere apology. In the agile language, you can call me the product owner, but a little bit higher than that because I also do all the architecture of the tool. At any rate, I would like to welcome you all in this webinar, and this is kind of a high-level overview of of the Rommana ALM. However, I want you to know that the purpose of the webinar is to give you some ideas that you could use in any kind of tool or methodologies you use. But I must admit this webinar is more focused on the tool rather than the methodologies because it is a high-level webinar, so I could not dive deep into one of the methodologies. When we started talking about specific components of the tool, I have different webinars that are, each one of them is 1 hour. For example, if we started talking about how we do requirement management in Rommana ALM, then if you attended the one webinar on that, the 1 hour webinar on that, you will learn more about all the methodologies for for requirement management. When I speak about project management component and how we do project management in Rommana ALM, you can also hear the 1 hour webinar on the project management, especially or more specifically on the feature-based project management. So for now, please allow me to give you an overview of Rommana ALM and how you can use it to, as I say here, to gain full control of your project, whether you're a project manager, you're a test manager, that material is going to be helpful for you. We have a number of webinars. We're going to be posting more this week, so please make sure to see what's there. To start with, Rommana ALM, according to the chart you see in front of you, is a fully integrated application lifecycle management tool and methodologies. Rommana ALM supports the following information. Of course, many tools can claim that they are ALM tools, but what matters really is what they are supporting. So from this picture, you can see that Rommana ALM supports everything you can imagine about requirement management, everything about test management and test design. Even we label the circle here as test management, but the truth is Rommana ALM is also a strong test design tool and has very strong test design methodologies like the scenario-based development and testing methodology. It has full support of project management activities in a way that's very different from Microsoft project or any other project management tool does. Rommana ALM uses what we call requirement-based or feature-based project management, which means you manage all your development and testing activities with a requirement being in the center of attention. Rommana ALM also supports use cases, is everything you can imagine about use cases. Bug tracking or issue management also is within Rommana. And also change management, meaning when a requirement to change or a use case it changes, how does this affect everything else from the test cases that we wrote for that requirement to even the timeline and the resource allocation for that requirement. In addition to those 6 circles you see in front of you, Rommana has also started to support recently 2 more processes, and those are document management. Rommana has a very strong support for document management, allows you to create documents even aside from the the project. You can create any kind of documents. You can get people to review the document, to approve the document. There is an approval life cycle, and you can keep changing the document. You can create different versions or different variations of the documents, if you will, and so on. And the other component that Rommana ALM also does recently is collaboration management. Rommana ALM started to be very strong in collaboration. With all these things being supported in Rommana, we allow also the project members of the project team to collaborate through the tool itself. So all your requirement reviews, all your scenario reviews, test plan reviews are all happening within Rommana, and all the comments and all the questions and answers are all documented within Rommana. We have been also working very diligently to integrate with other tools, only because when we see another tool that can provide richness to Rommana ALM, we integrate with it. For example, Rommana ALM integrates with QTP, Quick Test Pro from HP, because Rommana ALM does not execute your tests. You can either execute your tests manually, or you could push the script, the automated script, from within the test management component of Rommana to QTP, and the QTP will execute it, and the results will come back to Rommana ALM, such that you can generate all kinds of reports about the results of the automated test execution. Also, since Rommana does not do any code version control, we integrate with SVN Subversion, the tool for code version control, to allow developers to put the code in SVN, and then we link to SVN from within, actually from the requirement management component, so you could do the the traceability of requirements and scenarios to the code within SVN. You can also do the traceability of use cases to the code in SVN. We are currently working on integration with Selenium for test execution, as well as for other tools from IBM. And because of all that, an independent comparative study by a company called RQX Global has compared 32 different tools. 32 different tools. Some of those tools are from IBM, some of them are from HP. You can look here. This is Doors from IBM. This is Quality Center here from HP, and some other tools here. Those are all large companies. And the comparative study report is about 120 pages, if I remember, and it compares everything feature by feature. And it found that Rommana happened to be the best ALM tool, the best requirement management tool, they did this when they focus on requirement management feature, and also Rommana happened to be the best cloud solution. These are the 3 awards that Rommana ALM has received in this report by RQX. The report is available from RQX, a company that we have no relationship with. You can certainly contact them. You can look at the report if you are looking for a tool. And of course, I am personally behind the Rommana ALM. I make sure that I add all the features that they add. I make sure that the way Rommana ALM does things, it does it in a very software engineering manner. I am a software engineer in heart, and I just do not, or I'm not willing to sacrifice or compromise any of the software engineering discipline we have learned over the years. That's why Rommana, RQX and other companies as well. This afternoon I have an interview with the Gartner Group, because the Gartner Group found Rommana to be a very attractive tool, so I'm being interviewed this afternoon there. With that being said, I should stop bragging about things, but you know what? It is something that we can brag about. Something that no other company, I'm going to say no other company, including IBM and Microsoft and HP, can brag about. ALM is not an easy thing. Not because you have a tool and not because you call it an ALM tool, that means that it becomes an ALM tool. No way. I mean, those companies out there, those research companies out there like RQX Global and Gartner and other companies, SCD Times, we've won what's called the SCD 100 award for 3 years in a row. And of course, we'll continue to do that. So let me very quick here give you an overview of Rommana ALM. Rommana ALM is a one tool that uses one user interface. It's not a bunch of tools that have been acquired from different vendors that have been written or implemented at different times, having a different user interface, having different repositories. No, it's one database, one SQL Server database in the center that all these components put the data in and pull the data out. So that's why traceability and full integration is possible. You cannot possibly speak about full traceability and full integration when you are talking about a tool that consists of multiple tools that have been acquired from certain companies, and you put them together and you package them together and you say this is an integrated ALM. We try to redefine what integrated ALM means. People use the ALM term, meaning application lifecycle management, just loosely to refer to any tool that does anything in the software development lifecycle. And Rommana Software comes to define the term integrated ALM. So integrated ALM is not the same as ALM. You can call your tool ALM and you can get away with that. But when you start to talk about integration between the components and the full traceability, if you read the report from RQX, it said exactly that. It said, in fact, it's posted on our website, the quote from the paragraph from the report say that. So it talks about traceability and full integration. It says other companies tried, but Rommana ALM has a very unique way of integrating the components and the traceability between the components. And this is really what matters. When you put your hand on a requirement, you want to be able to see all the scenarios of that requirement. You want to click on a scenario, you can see all the test cases, you can see the ones that passed, you can see the ones that failed, and you can look at how many bug reports were created over time for that for that requirement, and how many of them are closed, how many of them are still open. You can go backward from a bug report or an issue report, and you look at it and you can trace it back to the test case, to the scenario, to the use case, to the requirement, and so on. And that's the whole thing. And of course, the traceability from the requirement to the people, resources who are working on it, whether on the testing side or the development side, is very critical. It's very critical. I don't know how people can manage projects without having this ability of full traceability forward and backward. It's totally web-based. The Rommana ALM is totally web-based. Okay. Meaning that it is not, I mean, let's pick up a tool like Quality Center. Quality Center has always been a typical client-server application. Of course, the fact that you convert it to a web-based, that's what I call not a native web-based application. There's so many things that web-based applications can do, and I'm sure I'm going to say so many things that native web-based applications do that other applications cannot. The simple fact that you bring a report on the screen and you click on any number on the report, and you can open another window that gives you more details about this number, and you go to another screen and you click another number and it gives you another screen. That's simple, the hyperlink capability that we have with the ALM. You can't have this with an application that used to be a client server and then converted to ALM. I was making a presentation of Rommana last week, and I had some people in the room who have used Quality Center for years. And once I started to do this, once I started to drill down in the tool, they were amazed. It says, my God, we cannot do this. And if we can do this in quality center, it would be something. Because in order to, if you look at a number from on a report, you'd have to go somewhere else to pull out a different report, and then you look at the numbers on that other report, and if you're questioning one of the numbers, then you go back to the reporting and they run another report and so on. But anyway, let me not talk about HP. There's no point of speaking negatively about HP tools because the survey that we looked at says it all. It's right here. I think the score, if you can look at the chart here, the score they received is no more than 2.1 or 2.2 compared to the score that Rommana received, 7.1. Of course, Blueprint is another tool. It's mostly only a requirement management tool from small company that has been acquired by HP. At any rate, because it's a web-based application, you can use it from any browser. I would not recommend using it in Google Chrome. I think my testers tell me that they tested everything in Google Chrome, but we have not done the final certification on Google Chrome. But it works very well on all versions of Firefox and Internet Explorer. The nice thing about Rommana ALM, it does not require any other thing to install. You get the installation package from our support team. You install it as is. It takes about roughly 20 minutes to install. No other components, no other third party or infrastructure software you need to install. Why? Again, Rommana was built initially to be a web-based application. You install it on a server, and then you can use it from any other machine that's connected to that server, including the machine itself, the server itself. The ease of installation is amazing. When I try to use other tools, just to look at them to see what they do, I've never succeeded in installing anything. Why? Because I have someone now one of my team members trying to install doors to play with it, to see what kind of features, because we're trying to work on the integration with doors. It's been like, what, 3 weeks now? They cannot install it. They follow the instructions. They cannot install it because there are so many things they require for you to install. Okay, enough bad-mouthing IBM too. And if you don't want to download anything or you don't want to install anything, you can use Rommana in the cloud. Right now, Rommana is available for free for up to 5 users for as long as you want it. Now someone says, well, if it is free, then it cannot be good. No, no, and no. We intentionally make Rommana available for free. And the version that's available for free as we speak is what we call Rommana Team, which does not have 100% of all the features in Rommana Global, which is the purchased version. Last week we met, we discussed, and we will go ahead and make the full Rommana Global. The full Rommana Global that has all the features that you normally pay for, we'll make it available for free as well. So for up to 5 people. Now, of course, I know you can say, why are you guys doing this? Why would you make a tool that other people sell for $5,000 and $6,000 per user? And this is even a superior tool. Why would you make it free? Because we want all companies to use it. We want all companies to be able to use a decent ALM tools, and they don't have to pay for it. That's what we say. And as I said, if you see an advertisement or anything that says Rommana Team is free, know that in the future, this will change to say Rommana Global is free. Or in general, Rommana ALM is free, meaning that you'll get it all. You will get it all. We're not going to hide anything from you. We have over, 400 or 500 companies that are using it for free now. By next year, we hope to have over at least 2,000 companies using it for free. We would love to see that. And we monitor them, we contact them, and so on. All right. As I say here, Rommana is not a tool. It is a set of methodologies, and that's what's what's important. You don't want to have a tool. A tool that's just a tool will allow you to do things, whether you know what you're doing or not. You can do things. Well, do you really know what you're doing? Here is an important thing I heard from a gentleman who happened to be a senior trainer of Quality Center. He's a senior trainer of Quality Center working for HP. He saw Rommana one day, and he came to me and said, what I like about Rommana is two things. He said, in Quality Center, we assume you know what you're doing. And as a result, you can easily shoot yourself in the foot without knowing. He said, Rommana ALM coaches you. The methodology is within, tells you what to do and what not to do. It does not allow you to do the things that can harm your project. It does not allow you to do sloppy practice. It does not allow you to do things that you're not supposed to be doing. Okay? And if you really want to do the right thing, and you follow the methodologies within Rommana, then you can do the right thing all the time. That's one thing. And of course, on a different topic, he said the second thing I like about Rommana ALM is that at HP, at Quality Center, we assume that the requirement you have is a great requirement, is a good requirement. We assume that your business analyst knows how to write good requirements, and we take it from there, and everything goes well. And of course, there's no need to say that you start with a poorly written requirement. What do you get? You get poorly written test cases, and you get poorly written code. He said the nice thing about Rommana, it forces you to write good requirements. It guides you to write good requirements. A poorly written requirements cannot go through. You cannot possibly have a poorly written requirement in Rommana. Of course, that is if you follow the methodologies. These are the things I wanted you to know. It's not about Rommana ALM itself. It's about how do you look for a tool, and what does it mean to have a tool without a methodology and a tool with a methodology. Okay. Now, the other thing that's very unique about Rommana ALM, when you go to the market, you can get one tool that's good for agile projects, another tool that's good for non-agile projects. Rommana ALM treats agile and non-agile very seamlessly. All right? The only thing you have to say up front is that this is going to be an agile project. And everything within Rommana, every methodology changes accordingly. And there are a lot of methodologies that Rommana supports were intentionally written and implemented in a way that it does not matter if your project is agile or non-agile. It'll work. No one can say we need to leave this tool because we need to get a tool that helps us do it. You want to do user stories? You do user stories. You want to do requirements as opposed to user stories? Then Rommana will allow you to do requirements. Do you want to do pre-designed tests and spend all the time to follow a robust methodology to write test cases? You could do that. You want to do what we call exploratory testing and not spend much time in designing tests? You could do that. Everything is flexible. And you might wonder by now, what is the word Rommana? It is what it is. It is an Egyptian word for the word pomegranate. It is really my way of saying, or our way of saying, this is a good value tool. There is a tight integration between the pieces, as you see the tight bond between the seeds within the pomegranate. I don't know if you've ever cut a pomegranate or looked at the inside, and you probably, I don't know if you know that or not, pomegranate is known to be the highest. It provides the highest value in antioxidant. So it is just a name we chose. Now, there are, in this presentation, which is also, this presentation, by the way, is recorded at the Rommana website, rommanasoftware.com. You could go ahead and listen to the presentation and see and look at those slides. I can go through the slides one by one because I have one slide for every component within. But instead of doing that, I'd rather go into the tool itself and showing you how it works. Now, but of course, don't get me wrong. The slides will provide you much more details than what I can possibly provide here in the demo of the tool. But look at some of the things here. Look, if any tool out there that's a requirement management tool, including something like doors that sells, that again, as I said, I think IBM sells doors at about $4,000 per user. And the other tool from IBM for requirement management is Requisite Pro. And I think they sell Requisite Pro at $3,500 per user. Rommana, by the way, Rommana ALM with all the components sells at $2,000 per user. So look at any one of those requirement management tools and see if it does any of those. I mean, people think that just allowing you to enter requirements and maintain requirements and make changes to requirements is requirement management. People who think that way, they do not understand what requirement management is. Requirement management includes so many other things. Include, for example, change management. Change management and the concept of change request is part of requirement management. All right, meaning that what happens if a requirement changes? Everyone knows that we go through the change control process, but how is the change control process implemented in the tool? What does it mean to change a requirement at some point, at certain point within the project? How do you take a change? So Rommana allows you to create a change requests, to take that change request associated with an existing requirement. You can use the change request to either make changes to an existing requirement, or someone can look at the change request and say, that's a lot of work. So let's not make the change to this requirement. Let's create another requirement based on that change request. And as a result, if you make changes to a requirement, then you're creating a different version of the requirement. So versioning of requirements is a critical thing in requirement management. Any tool that does not allow you to create different versions and maintain, it's not simply creating them, because I can have version 1 of a requirement and I make a change to it and I create version 2. But if I cannot go back to version 1, and if I cannot go back to work with version 1, actually, if I cannot work with both version 1 and version 2 at the same time, then that's not a requirement management tool. Because here's what happens in most larger projects. We have requirements, we're almost finishing the code and the design, and the customer changes their mind. Then we go and create a change request. And we apply that to change request. Then the change request is a changing the requirement and is creating version 2 of that requirement. Now, the big question is, are we going to be able to stop everything we've done in version 1 and move to version 2? Or we have only 2 weeks left or 1 week left for the release, and in which case we cannot do that. So what you can do is people can continue to work with version 1 and the other people can work on version 2, such that we can put the release out on time as we planned, but then we can have a patch that sends version 2 of the requirement. Okay? So the work with multiple versions of the requirements can continue at the same time. Okay, only people who understand the requirement management and the project management know that. Okay, tool vendors and tool developers are not requirement engineers, and they're not project managers. They're just tool developers. All right. When you create a requirement, when we have a requirement, there are certain tasks within the requirements. What are the tasks? Well, a requirement will be given to a developer to write the design, to write the code, to design the screens. Those are the tasks. A requirement will be given to a tester to analyze it, to ask questions about it, to develop scenarios for it, to develop test cases, to execute those test cases for that specific requirement. Those are also the tasks for the testing side. You got to be able to associate those tasks with a requirement. If you can't, a requirement standing alone by itself in a requirement management tool is nothing. Because that's I'm going to repeat what people told me. A large medical company in the Midwest said they have been using the Doors for the last 15 years. Doors is the requirement management tool from IBM. And explicitly said We've been using tools simply as a Microsoft Word. That's all what it is. That's all what it is. And their technical support, their annual technical support bill exceeds $100,000. I'm sorry, IBM, that I say this about you, but this is your customers saying that. And this company said, can you, I mean, of course, companies who used a tool like Doors for 15 years, and they have been trapped in Doors, they start to seeing a tool like Rommana, they get amazed. They said, we could not believe that there's a tool out there that can do all this. And they said, can you possibly pull out all our stuff from Doors into Rommana? I said, of course we can. That's a piece of cake, as we say. Okay, so requirement management is requirement management. Okay, of course, every project has risks, but those risks are associated with specific requirements. And you always have to associate risks with it. A requirement that's written there with nothing associated with it is not enough for me. I have to know what kind of risks do I have to deliver this requirement. Am I going to be able to deliver this requirement? Or is there a possible thing that could possibly happen in my project that, in which case I could not deliver that requirement? I guess this is a lot of things to say about requirement management. I need just to move to talk about change management. Well, I already alluded to that by talking about the change requests and the ability to create a change request and associate it with a requirement. But here is the most important thing, in my opinion, about a change request to support. When a change happens, you know what happens to the software. The developers go and they make the changes to the code and to the design, and as a result of those changes, guess what? A lot of things that worked before are not working anymore. I call this impact analysis. And change request in Rommana ALM forces developers to perform impact analysis on the changes and to provide the details of the impact analysis so that the test team can consider this when they do regression testing. Okay, that's very critical. Any tool that does not force developers to provide impact analysis information is simply allowing developers to do all kinds of sloppy work, and they affect other features, and the other features would not be working anymore the way it works before. Use cases, if your project uses use cases, it's there. Everything you want to do about use cases. If you're not familiar with use cases, then everything on this slide does not make much sense to you. But use cases are a very powerful approach to requirements. So you can write your requirements in plain English requirements, or you can write your requirements as use cases, which will provide much more details. So Rommana has a full support of use cases. Now, test management is a different story. Test management / test design. Rommana uses what we call the scenario-based development methodologies, scenario-based development and testing methodology, in order to allow you to do. I keep teaching that methodology to people around the globe. Last week, and actually not last week, on Friday and Saturday, I was at a conference here in Southern California, and I had a beautiful discussion with a sort of a round table discussion. And I showed people how to break a requirement to scenarios. The same thing I teach in all my classes. And once you understand the concept, you'd be amazed how we ever take a requirement and design tests for it, or how we ever take a requirement and try to write code and design for it. Doesn't make sense. Requirements by default are poorly written, even if I am the one who wrote those requirements. I know one of the people sitting in that discussion was a business analyst, so she looked at me like when I said all requirements are poorly written. And when she looked at me, I said, including the ones I write. And I proved that during the discussion. I proved it. And I showed how you can break a poorly written requirement into scenarios. And suddenly you discover tons of details that are not written in the requirement, yet they are critical details. Anyway, so it looks like the time I have here is got about 23 minutes or so. So allow me please to go quick and start Rommana. So I'm going to go here. So what you do here, let me just do go here and create a new browser here, and I will go to the cloud, ilcmanager.com/Rommana global evaluation. This is the evaluation version that we give to people to evaluate. But as I said, oops, I must have put something wrong here. ilcmanager.com/Rommana. Yeah. Okay, here you go. Okay, so once you log into Rommana, and again, I'm using just Internet Explorer. Okay, it's working here. I'm assuming you can see my screen here. What am I doing? Can't you do that? So let me make sure that you are looking at my screen. Yes, you are. So these are all the projects you have in Rommana, or I have in Rommana. The dark blue boxes are the actual products or systems, if you will, and the assumption is under one system you might have multiple projects, or under one product you have multiple projects. So actually these are snapshot of the actual Rommana projects, meaning, because you can imagine, we use Rommana ALM to manage the Rommana projects, or to manage the development and maintenance of Rommana. So this is 14.3, which we're still working on it right now. We started it early September. We're still working on it, and the release will go out like second week of December. But this is the project before 4.1, which was released about a couple months ago. And all the releases are here. So I'm gonna go just to open an older project, because I don't want to play with the current data. When you do that, when you open a project, you get this thing we call the dashboard, and the dashboards provide you with quick information about your project. Now, again, as I said, the nice thing about this being a web-based application, first of all, this whole dashboard is totally configurable. You can decide what to see and what not to see by going here. By going here into configure dashboards. And the configuring dashboard will allow you to change the charts here to change the report you see here. So here, and then once you configure your dashboard, you can actually go like this and say, okay, these are the requirements by status. I'm interested in that. I have one backlog requirement. I have 3 implemented requirements. I have these baselined already, which means we'll finalize them. We cannot change them anymore. We still have 5 requirements under negotiations, and you can click on any one of those. Let me go to another chart that's a little bit more interesting. This is the test execution by status. That's showing for all your test cases. Here, for example, about 83.9% of our test cases passed. If you look here, for example, we have 9.4% failed. Right away, if you say, how many test cases are those? You click on that, and it gives you a list of all those test cases that failed. And you say, oh, okay, I want to see why some of those failed. And you say, let me look at this one here. Because that's test case number here. So it opens another screen. That's what I was talking about. This is the typical thing you can do in any web-based application. So that's the test case that failed. That's actually the test case screen with all the details, and you can see the status failed. Okay, and because the status failed, you look at the bottom here, you can see the bug report right there on the same screen. Okay, you don't have to work hard. See, in other tools such as Quality Center from HP, you don't see the bug report like that. You'd have to go to the bug report component to look at the bug report. The only thing you have you might be able to know from here is the bug report number. That's if you even know it. Okay, and then you go to the bug report component and they start, because the bug reporting in Quality Center was a tool from a different vendor. Okay, so I'm now looking at the bug report. If someone says, okay, I can see why this test case failed, let me look at the bug report anyway. So you look at the bug report here, and that now opens the screen of the bug report itself. Okay, and you can see the history of the bug report, because that's especially if someone wants to look at a failed test case and says, what's the status on this test case, Well, someone says, well, I thought we fixed it before and it was closed. It was closed back in December of 2010. Please understand, this is an older version. And how come it was open again? Okay, it was open again by Magdi on July 13th. Obviously, Magdi saw something that caused him to reopen it. And of course, what Magdi wrote or anyone else wrote is right here. Okay, of course, I did this as part of the demo. So if I were to go to a bug report and reopen it, guess what the system does? I told you, it does not allow you to do anything wrong. It tells you, what are you doing? There is the test case that's associated with this bug report is in a pass condition. How could you reopen the bug report? You want to open the bug report? We're going to change the status of the test case that's associated with this bug report to fail. That's it. So in a way, you cannot have an open bug report that's not associated, and the associated test case is a pass. If it is a pass, then the associated bug report should be closed. That's really what this gentleman from HP meant when he said it doesn't let you do the wrong things. It forces you to follow sound and decent software engineering rules. Okay, so that's the bug report. All right, and in the bug report, it gives you all details, the history day by day, time by time here. So I'm gonna just to close this, because I'm not, and I'm gonna also close the list of test cases and so on, going back to this report. And as I said, what I did with this, you can do it with any number. You can do with any number. Open the issues. Okay, here is an issue. Someone says issue report number 3. These are still open. If you want to look at them, you click on it simply and go and open that issue report and see, what is it, and so on. And of course, on the left here, the red means they're still open, the green means they're closed. Okay, and the blue means what? It means that can't recall, to be honest with you. I'm the architect of the tool, but I forgot what the blue color means. So let me go there. Hopefully I can. So I'm opening that bug report here. All right. Oh, it's assigned. I need to. So this bug report has been assigned to someone. All right. Okay. Let me close that. So I'm gonna look here to see if anyone has a question. No one has a question. I hope people are listening to me, but guess what? I have a way of knowing here if you are listening to me or not. The dashboard tells me that the attentiveness is about 50%. So 50% of you are busy on their machine doing something else. This is a nice feature of GoToWebinar. It doesn't, of course, it does not monitor what you do on your, now suddenly the attentiveness increased to 62%. Thank you very much. GoToWebinar captures what you do in your keyboard, but guess what? It does not really know what you're doing. It just knows that you keep typing and you keep hitting your keys, your keyboard while you are watching. So it knows that you're busy. So it tells me here so that I know if you're paying attention. But just this is an interesting thing to know. All right, let's move on and look at the requirements here. I mean, of course, if you're interested to know a specific thing, a specific component, here are all the things. Everything that has to do with the project is here. Everything that has to do with requirements, change requests, the test sets and test cases and test scenarios, everything is here. All the documents and document management is here. All the reports are here. If I click on this, it gives you a very comprehensive set of reports from Rommana, and they're divided by test management reports, requirement management reports, and reports in Rommana are easy to generate. If I want to create, for example, something like here, for example, cost estimation by requirement, click on that. Okay, you can just click on display report, and that's it. Or you can filter if you wanted to. This is going to be filtering it by the release 10.3. It's going to give me all the iterations, assuming that this is an agile project. I can click on the report, and suddenly I see the report. All reports within Rommana are like that. You don't have to do a Mickey Mouse stuff to get a report. And you get the report, and you click on any number, as I said, in the report. Okay, well, of course, those numbers are not clickable for a reason. That's estimated cost and actual cost and actual hours. You're not going to get any information by clicking the actual hours. But it says here, for example, for this requirement, I have those tests. I have development. I have tested by developer. I have final testing. I have unit testing. I have. If you want to see details about any one of those tests, you can click on it. Not only that, if someone says, okay, how come we didn't finish this requirement? Because this report actually is mostly project management report, as you can imagine. Okay, let me see what I have here. It gives you the cost, the estimated cost of building of delivering a feature, and it breaks it down by task. Okay, how many hours are we spending in coding? How many hours we're spending on screen prototyping? How many hours we're spending on this and this and this and this? Okay, how many hours are we estimating? How many actual hours? And what's the cost if you're interested about the cost in dollars, and it gives you how far you're deviating from the actuals, or how far your actuals are deviating from the estimates. Okay, for example, here I estimated 8 hours, but I actually performed only or used only 6 hours. Then I had overestimated by 25%, so that's 25% overestimation. Okay, and so on. But if someone want to say, okay, let's look at this requirement. Here you go. You look at this requirement. It opens the requirement screen right there. Why? Because it is able to do this because the requirement management component is part of the tool where the project management component and the report is from there. There is a requirement, and it tells you at the top this requirement has been implemented and can only be changed by submitting a change request. And here are all the details about the requirement. Here are the scenarios and so on. Well, since we did that, so let's look at the requirement screen by itself. I'm back here. So now I'm looking at a requirement. So let's look at what the requirement screen has for you. It has a lot of stuff. As I told you before, a requirement is not simply an entity that is sitting there in the database, and all what you can do is to make a change to the requirement and so on. No, a requirement is associated with many things. Let me just share with you here, quick. I know we have only 9 minutes left, and I'd like to be able to entertain some of questions, if any. The first thing you see in a requirement is the list of scenarios. As I said, we use a scenario-based development and testing methodology. Where is a requirement like this, as I said, by default, we're going to assume that it is poorly written. So we have to take it and break it down into scenarios. So down here are all the scenarios, and we have like 3 pages. We list only about 5 per page, and you can see the rest. But here is a nice thing again. If someone says, can I look at one of those scenarios? Okay, here you go. I just clicked on a scenario. It takes me to the scenario screen. And it tells me, yeah, that's the scenario number, that's the scenario name, that's scenario description, that's what we expect as far as the behavior. This is the risk-based stuff, frequency of occurrence, and so on. So someone says, okay, if I am looking at a scenario, can I go back to the requirement? Of course, it's right here. So go back to the requirement. So you click here, I am back to the requirement that I was looking at. So traceability is forward and backward. That's very important. Okay, so aside from scenarios, and scenarios is an amazing thing. I'm going to be, my apology here, I am going to be doing another 1 hour, I believe, in scenario-based development and testing. It is scheduled sometime, I can't remember when. Actually, we have the GoToWebinar screen here. Oh, it is actually November 3rd, which is coming what? This Friday, maybe? Yes. No, it's not Friday. It's next Monday. Okay. Scenario-based development and testing. That's scheduled there. All right. Let's continue here. Aside from scenarios, what else do we have? We have the source of the requirement. How did we learn about it? The date of the source description. Here it says there was a meeting on May 8th. That's how we learned about this requirement. The source could be almost anything, but remember, since the requirement has been baselined or implemented, I cannot change anything. You see, this is grayed out. Let's go to another requirement that is not baseline or implemented, so that you can see some of the changes. Okay, this one also is. How about this one? And I know you can tell me that it might be useful to give certain colors to those requirements to allow us to know the status. Okay. Actually, so it looks like all the requirements in this project have been baselined. No, I found one right here. Okay. So, as I said, the source type is right here. Someone says, we learned about it in a meeting, we learned about it in a phone call. It actually came from a Word document, and of course, you can associate the requirement with a Word document where this requirement came from, and so on. Down here, interesting thing, of course, this is the relationship between the requirements, because you could always establish some sort of relationship. This requirement right now, as it stands, does not relate to anything, to any other requirements. There's no relationship. But if I want to add a requirement, if I want to say this requirement is related to other requirements, I click on this, it gives me this window. I can click here, I can see all the other requirements. If I say that requirement I'm looking at is also related whether to, for example, this requirement and this requirement, for example. I move them here. Now, those two requirements are related to this existing requirement. I'm going to say save. It tells me, okay, what is the nature of that relationship between that requirement and the two requirements? I say must be tested together. For example, this is a very free text. Say now save. See, that's again what people mean when they say Rommana does not allow you to do the wrong things. And one of the wrong things I believe on from a requirement management perspective is to establish a relationship between two requirements, but you never say what's the nature of the relationship. How are they related? Because you could say those requirements are related. Related to what? Related in what sense? Do they need to be tested together? Do they need to be coded together? Does one of them need to be done before the other? Did they both come from the same business owner? Whatever. Okay, you can establish any kind of. So now I have this requirement related to a group of requirement here. So if I click here, it tells me those requirements. Okay. Going forward, we have only 4 minutes left. Let me peek into your questions. No one is asking me questions, which is fine. I'm happy just to go and cover things. I have only few questions here. So if I go and only one. Are the sections listed in any sort of order? Sections, which sections? Such as by priority? Oh, scenarios, forgive me, my apology. No, the scenarios are, it's a good question. You know what? I think they are listed in the order they were created, in which it is a scenario ID within this requirement. So if you're working with specific requirements, you create one scenario, it appears first, but I can see the point. Of course, you can go to scenarios and list them by anything you want. So within that box, um, within that box, there is no really much chance of sorting. You see that it's so the default sorting is the time you created it in the order they were created. However, if you want to go to look at the scenarios in specific orders, we have another screen where you can look at those scenarios and you sort them by anything you want. But thanks for the question. I will check with my developers to see if we can provide, see if we want to provide options for sorting here, you have to provide columns. And the columns will use a lot of space here. So in which case, this screen would look like this screen. Let me show you this. Project entities, I'll go here. And I'm going to go to scenarios, or what we call them non-new scenarios, are right here. And that gives me a list of all the scenarios. Okay. So they're listed by scenario number. You can sort by anything else, like frequency of occurrence, for example. If you want to test the scenarios by priority, you click on that. All right. So it gives you the smallest, the lowest priority first. You sort one more time. It gives you the highest priority first. So those are the scenarios in the order that must be tested. Okay. So that's where you work with the sorting of scenarios. I have another question. Says, could you please give the URL of the Rommana evaluation? If you go to the Rommana website, I don't have actually a URL for the Rommana evaluation, but rather if you go to Rommana software.com, there is a link to request the link for evaluation, because we need to ask you few information, few questions before you get the link, and the question simply so where is that link? Okay, down here at the bottom, evaluation request. So if you go there, sorry, I have the control panel of Rommana. So you enter your username and password. If you don't have a password, you request to register and so on. We would like to keep track of who's requesting the evaluation copy so that we can come back to you and say, do you have any questions when you're using it? Rommana, we have filed, 2 months ago, we filed patent for everything within Rommana. So all the features, all the methodologies within Rommana have been patent. Actually, I should be accurate. It says patent pending, but we submitted the application for everything. It took like 3 years to submit that application. All right. Well, guess what? I've used all my time. Thanks all for joining me in this webinar. We're going to look at the questions again. No other questions, I believe, here. There's another question from Darren. When you showed actuals for tests, are those pulled through an interface, or does Rommana do time entry also? Oh yeah, no, you enter that. So for each requirement, for each test within a requirement, you can allow me, please. I know I used my time here, but if I were to go here and so for each, so here you go. Here are the tasks. According to this, the 8 hours, let's say someone entered this, So unit testing is supposed to take 8 hours. So you can click on this and it opens the task for this requirement. It says this task is called unit testing. And the unit testing task has been assigned to this group of requirements and also this group of requirements. So far, the total time estimated for unit testing is 108. But obviously, if I click on this group of requirements, I've estimated the estimated number of hours is 8 hours here. The other group obviously had 100. So this is one requirement that has, so I can change this anytime I want. So I can say, you know what, I was wrong. I need to estimate 15 hours. Okay, so that's the data entry you're referring to. So I'm saying now this, okay, look at this. This task of unit testing, when it is done for this requirement, it's going to take 15 hours. Of course, we're saying Magdi Hanna gets paid $50 an hour. This is all for testing purposes. Okay, now I can save this. So so you do data entry. You have a project manager or a project lead or a tester or a developer need to put the estimates. And so once you do that, you start, okay, now I need to save this. And if I were to pull the report now for that specific requirement, it'll say estimated 15. So yes, when you have a requirement, you can go into each test within the requirement. If there is a tester who's supposed to develop scenarios, so developing scenarios is one of the tasks. The tester has to say, for this requirement, I'm going to take me 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours to build the scenarios. And for example, it's going to take me 2 hours to, and this is the beauty of this report, because it tells you this requirement, whatever it is going to take, we're estimating 66 hours. If someone says, how come? Why 66 hours? Where are these going? Okay, so forget about the accuracy of the numbers here, but because someone estimated that. Prototyping of the screens take 40 hours. Scenario development is going to take 10 hours. So you can see the breakdown of the hours of the requirement. And if someone come back and say, no, we're not going to spend 40 hours doing prototyping. Say, how much do you want to spend? Let's reduce this to 30 hours. Okay, and so on. All right, I hope this answers your question. All right, any more questions? Okay, good. Darren? All right, thank you guys. Thank you so much. I know it's a Monday and it's not easy to find time in your Monday schedule to join me, but again, I'm grateful that you had found time. Don't forget that if you want to try Rommana, either request an evaluation. The evaluation that I referred to is only 30 days, but that's for Rommana Global. If you want to have access for Rommana Team for as long as you want it, for up to 5 people, then go to the Rommana website and request access to Rommana Team. It's the same thing here. And then as I said, starting December 1st, the evaluation copies, or not the evaluation copies, we will give access to Rommana Global for free. We will give access to Rommana Global for free. Thanks again. Allow me, please, to end this webinar, unless there is any other question.